Golden generation. That's a term we've become so used to in international football. Almost every country has experienced at least one golden generation where they produce a really incredible group of talented and established players. Germany had their golden generation between 2006 and 2018. Belgium had theirs between 2014 and 2022. And there are nations who have had multiple golden generations like France and England. Today though, we want to look at those teams who are in their first real golden generation. Or at least their first in a long time. These are 7 World Cup nations who are currently in their golden generation. Hey fam, this is your chance to build the jersey collection you've been waiting for. The Goal 90 bundle deal is live. Buy 2 jerseys and get 10% off. Buy 3 and get 15% off. Buy 4 and get a massive 25% off. Club kits, country kits, retro classics, pick your favourites and save big. And yes, every order comes with free worldwide shipping. The deal runs only until the end of May. Goal 90 bundle deal. Buy more, save more. Shop now at Goal 90 Shop. We'll start with Norway. Around the late 2010s, something really beautiful started to brew in Norwegian football. For more than 20 years, the nation had failed to qualify for a major international tournament. But the rise of some really top talents in the 2010s started to give the nation hope of a really bright future. You could say that the country hit the goldmine with Erling Haaland. Having been born in England, he had the option to represent the 3 Lions on the international stage, but he chose Norway, and from the very first day, he was absolutely terrific. At the age of 24, he had already become the nation's record goalscorer, and being one of the outright best players of his generation, it became inevitable that Norway would start to enjoy some success with him leading the attack. They also had Martin Ødegaard, a real wonder kid who, at the age of 15, became the nation's youngest ever player. He has since been able to bring his experience and winning mentality from playing with top clubs like Real Madrid and Arsenal to the national team. And he's been doing a tremendous job as a captain. These two are obviously the biggest faces of the new era of Norwegian football, but they have a really good support cast. Alexander Sørloth, Antonio Nusa, Jorgen Strand Larsen, Sander Berg, Julian Ryerson, and Oscar Bob all play for clubs in top European leagues and are recognisable stars. Norway has simply never had this much talent in their national team. Already this golden generation has started to yield results as they led the nation to World Cup qualification for the first time in 28 years, doing it in real style by winning every single one of their qualifying games. But they'll be hoping to do better than they've ever done at this World Cup by getting past the round of 16 for the first time in the nation's history. Looking at the quality in that squad, they surely can do it. Another team that's currently in its golden generation is Morocco. And we've already seen this crop of players shock everyone after they became the first African nation to reach the semi-finals of the World Cup 4 years ago. You could say that this golden generation began in 2022. They showed real resilience and team spirit at the Qatar World Cup, which helped them beat top teams like Belgium, Spain and Portugal. Then they went on to the 2025 AFCON where they reached the final for the first time in 22 years and eventually won the trophy, albeit under controversial circumstances. They now find themselves at number 7 in FIFA's world rankings and have started this World Cup campaign in brilliant fashion, holding favourites Brazil to a draw and generally giving a good account of themselves. This Moroccan generation, which features top players like Brahim Diaz, Hakimi Mazraoui, Bonu, Saibari and a load of other players, will be hoping to surpass what they did at the last World Cup and maybe reach a final or at least finish in 3rd place. Will they be able to? What do you think? Anyway, Colombia is surely another team in their golden generation. You can argue that they had a golden generation in the 80s and 90s, but what they've assembled right now is as golden as it has been in a while. This squad combines experience from players like James Rodriguez, Johan Mojica, Yerry Mina and David Ospina with the prime years of players like Luis Diaz, Luis Suarez, Richard Rios, Daniel Munoz and Jon Arias. This crop of players reached the Copa America final in 2024 for the first time in 23 years. And this year they'll be hoping to outdo their 2014 World Cup outing by going past the quarter-final for the first time in their entire history. Another South American nation currently in their golden generation is Ecuador. They simply have never had this much talent in their squad in all their history. With Pacho, Hincapié, Ordóñez and Estupiñán, they can boast of having one of the best defences at the World Cup. They also have Moises Caicedo, who is one of the best in his position in world football, Kendry Páez, who is a precocious teenager with a very bright future, and Nilson Angulo, who is a very exciting player to watch. But they still have the guidance of the very experienced Enner Valencia, a striker with an impressive World Cup pedigree. In this squad, Ecuador has a Champions League winner, a Premier League winner, a Club World Cup winner, a European treble winner, and a €100 million player, among others. They simply have never had it this good in their entire history. They had a very impressive qualification campaign, finishing second on the CONMEBOL qualifying table, ahead of top teams like Brazil and Uruguay. This tournament didn't start the way they hoped it would after they lost their opening game to Côte d'Ivoire, but they'll still be hoping they can make history this year by making it past the round of 16 for the first time in their World Cup history. And guess what? Hosts USA are also in their golden generation. For years, they've been ridiculed for their failure on the big stages, especially when compared to the women's team. But since they failed to qualify for the 2018 World Cup, there seems to have been a shift in the atmosphere. Right now, they have top players who ply their trade in top European leagues like Christian Pulisic, Folarin Balogun, Serginho Dest, Weston McKennie, Brendan Aronson, Tyler Adams, Anthony Robinson, Giovanni Reina and Timothy Weah. This group of players won the CONCACAF Nations League in 2021 and set a record for wins in a calendar year in USMNT history. They then put together the second youngest squad at the 2022 World Cup, where they reached the round of 16. They would go on to win the CONCACAF Nations League again in 2023 and qualify for the 2026 World Cup in style. We'll be honest though, this American golden generation has sometimes stumbled, failing to come out of their group at the 2024 Copa America and losing the 2025 CONCACAF Nations League final to Panama. But they've started this World Cup campaign on home soil in brilliant fashion, beating Paraguay comprehensively, which was the first time the USMNT scored 4 goals in a single World Cup game. If there was ever a time for the US to make history, it's right now, with their golden generation in front of a home crowd. And we have to say that their co-hosts are also in a golden generation, and we're talking about Canada. This golden generation started just around 2020 and is growing stronger and stronger. This team assembled the nation's first ever UEFA Champions League winner in Alphonso Davies, first ever Serie A winner in Tajon Buchanan, a top European striker in Jonathan David, and other top players like Tani Oluwaseyi, Kyle Larin and Ismail Kone. In 2022, Canada qualified for only its second ever World Cup after they finished top of their qualification group. That year, they managed to score their first ever goal at a World Cup, and this year, in their opening game in front of a home crowd, they secured their first ever World Cup point and are now hoping to reach the knockout rounds for the first time in their history. Mind you, in between these 2 World Cup campaigns in their first ever Copa America in 2024, they reached the semi-finals, only getting knocked out by eventual champions Argentina. Canada reached number 26 in the official FIFA rankings last year, the nation's highest ever position, and a massive improvement from the 72nd position they found themselves in at the beginning of 2022. Canada's current generation of footballers is surely very golden. Finally, Japan is currently in its golden generation, and you could say that this generation has been around since maybe around 2017. Not only have they become World Cup regulars over the years, they've now reached the knockout rounds in the last 2 tournaments, causing real upsets on the way. Between the 2018 and 2022 World Cups, Japan beat Colombia, Germany and Spain. They also held Croatia to a draw at the last World Cup, only getting knocked out on penalties. This year they'll be looking to cause more upsets and perhaps make history by reaching the quarterfinals for the first time ever. And well, they've already made a brilliant start by holding the Netherlands to a draw in their opening game. And you know what's even more impressive about this Japan team? They still look so incredible, despite being without some of their biggest stars like Takumi Minamino, Kaoru Mitoma and Wataru Endo. This is one golden generation that's less about individual brilliance and more about how they play as a team. It's no surprise that many have them down as one of the dark horses for this year's tournament. Now, which of these golden generations do you think will get closest to the gold trophy this year? Are there more nations at this World Cup who are in their golden generation? Talk to us in the comments. If you enjoyed this video, give it a thumbs up and subscribe to the channel. Also, turn on the bell notification so that you never miss out on new content. We'll catch you in the next one. Bye.